Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Open Your Eyes to the Universe. I'm Gabrielle Martin, your host for this evening. Now, for those of you who are joining for the first time, Open Your Eyes to the Universe is a series of contemporary talks, conversations, open-eyed meditations, and interviews with people who inspire and uplift others by sharing their wisdom, sharing their insights and their experiences to co-create a better world. As we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation, the Youniverse team acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, to sea and community. And we pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. And we also acknowledge and respect the wise elder within us all and the collective wisdom of everyone here this evening. Taking ourselves back to last month, we were in conversation with Ruth Little. Our conversation was about overcoming deep and difficult emotions, and we were exploring effective strategies to manage difficult emotions. It was a great conversation filled with a lot of effective reframing strategies, and I know that Jan's going to place the link in the chat box if you missed out and would like to check it out later on. And so here we are tonight on Youniverse, and we have a change to our advertised program. We were to be talking about the power of prayer and meditation with Elaine George and Maureen Cannon. However, Elaine is unable to join us tonight due to a pressing family commitment. Youniverse and Elaine send apologies to you for this and hope that it doesn't disappoint you too much. And as you will have read in our promotional material, Elaine is a prayer giver, and she's also the Secretary of Australian Religious Response to Climate Change, Western Australia, and the co-facilitator of the Symphony of Peace Prayers in Western Australia. Her commitment to the power of prayer is outstanding, and she knows full well its power both in terms of giving and receiving prayer. She mentioned to me recently that you really do understand the power of prayer when you palpably feel its power coming your way during a period of hardship, as others hold you in their prayer circle. So while she's not able to share with us firsthand tonight, I'm sure there'll be another occasion with us when she'll be able to join us here on Youniverse. And in the meantime, we're extending our power of beautiful good wishes and pure feelings and love and strength to Elaine and her family during this time of a pressing moment. So here we are with Maureen Cannon, and Maureen is an experienced meditator with us tonight. And Maureen is someone who has really experienced the power of meditation. And we're going to be looking at that in more detail tonight. But meditation and prayer has provided a source of personal solace and well-being for centuries, and have been used as a collective power for social justice change for centuries as well. And so tonight, Maureen will bring a very grounded, practical approach to our conversation on the power of meditation, on the power of its transformative power in terms of personal change, as well as its capacity to foster spiritual growth and manifest collective change. Let me tell you just a little bit about Maureen. She's been studying and teaching meditation with the Brahma Kumaris for the last 40 years. In the first 28 years during this time, she spent working full-time as well as coordinating a Brahma Kumari centre in various cities, including Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney. Now, for Maureen, the power of meditation became obvious to her during her working career in the clothing and textile industry, the food industry, and Australian Post. During these times, she worked alongside people from all ethnic backgrounds, and she maintains that meditation helped her, and I quote here, cultivate good relationships with people by developing patience and understanding different thinking and just what being calm and peaceful can do in situations. So Maureen says that this was quite a change for her, as she was always a bit fiery, as she maintains. In the last few years, Maureen says that she's been managing a serious health issue, and she maintains that with the power of meditation, she's been able to stay light and busy. She says the practice of meditation every day is one of the best medicines. So she currently coordinates the Brahma Kumari Centre in Perth. And Maureen, I know it's currently the afternoon for you in Perth, so feel free to enjoy a cuppa as we talk. It's very lovely to have you with us, and from one Kiwi to another, kia ora, a very, very warm welcome to Youniverse.
Oh, thank you very much, Gabrielle. That was a lovely welcome. And I also too send some good wishes and good feelings to Elaine. I would have loved to have been doing the program with her. So I've been asked to talk on the power of meditation and really where to start, because this meditation has brought just incredible difference in my life. And when I was young, I never would have thought I would go down this path, but I'm so glad that I found it. And it's taken me to many different countries in the world, and also into many different situations which I never ever thought I would manage. And how does it all start? This power of meditation. And it all starts actually with the change in thinking. And, you know, who ever thought, and here we go, we do this all the time, every day, that my thoughts are making a huge impact on how I say things, how I put things into action, on atmospheres, and it's also forming my personality. And when I first started, we had a teacher here from India, and one of the first things that struck me when I started meditation was she was saying to me that a lot of the disease, she was actually a GP, and she was, first thought that she gave was that most of the diseases in the world are psychosomatic. They actually start with a thought, and having these thoughts over a long period of time, they produce illnesses in the body. And at that time, she was talking about anxiety, tension, stress, which was starting to become quite prevalent in the world. And of course, many people were taking, you know, medication for, you know, ulcers and high blood pressure and headaches and all these kinds of things. And all brought on through not being aware of how thoughts were affecting health. So over the years, and as Gabrielle mentioned, when I did get my serious health issue, I really paid attention to my thoughts. But, you know, where to start with thinking? And this is why I love the first lesson of our meditation course, because it starts with this simple thought. And we use these two words, Om Shanti, and you might have seen them if you've had anything to do with any of our literature or anything. And like the two words are Om, and the second word is Shanti. And we usually align them with the sentence, Om, I am a peaceful soul. And as Gabrielle mentioned, I was always a bit fiery and the first to fire up if there was injustice or anything. And when I was thinking about these words, I am a peaceful soul, I was thinking, well, maybe I won't be able to get things done if I calm down and don't say anything. But actually, it's exact opposite. The more calm I am, then the more my thoughts have an impact. And the more stable I am, the more clear thinking I am, and the quieter I am, the more things get done. But, you know, when we're a little bit fiery and we're a bit emotional, then actually people don't want to have much to do with us. But they'll listen to us if they're dealing with reason, like someone who's a bit quieter, a bit more peaceful, and they realise they can sit down and work things out. They feel a bit safer, actually. So these were some of the things I learned along the way. And one of the things I thought that there's so many different kinds of thoughts we can have. So we often do a positive thinking course, and it talks about our 4 different kinds of thoughts. And So we talk about positive thinking, we talk about negative thinking. And these two kinds of thoughts I never really knew much about until I studied meditation a bit more. And one is waste thinking. And probably we think, oh, what's waste? And waste is all the thoughts that go along with what, why, when, how, and who. And then also there's necessary thoughts. We talk about them a lot as well. And they're thoughts to get things done. But if we put off the necessary things, they actually turn off into waste, because we usually say, oh, I must do that, I must do this. And I keep thinking about doing it, but I never do it. And I'm sure we've all had days like that. And I often have that conversation with my ironing basket quite regularly. I must do my ironing. Then I think, oh, I might go and have a cup of tea first. And then I have a cup of tea and then I'll forget. And then I go back and my ironing's still sitting there. So that's the power of our thoughts. We can put them off and change them. And what I have really deeply come to understand is thoughts are energy. And you'll notice if you see a battery, and on one end of the battery is a plus, and on one end of the battery is a minus. And when that battery gets in, the two ends get used and we charge the battery, okay? So there's energy there. So what I understand is that as a thinker, as this being who has all these thoughts, I'm energy. And when I'm having positive energy, it's a plus. And so when it's a plus, well, we can add on, get things done. But if I'm having negative thoughts, it's negative energy and it's a minus. And I'm not going to get much done. In fact, I'm actually cancelling out all the plus energy. And that's why sometimes I feel so tired and so drained, because I might have started off the day well, but I haven't gone through the day positively and I get exhausted by the end of the day. And I don't know if you've ever noticed that you haven't really done much physically, but you're absolutely exhausted. But what have we been doing mentally? And usually there's a whole stream of waste thoughts. And we've thought about everything. We've probably saved the world twice over, worked out how everybody should live and fixed all the relationships with all this waste thought that goes on in my head, how they should do this and why they should do this and, where they should wear this, etc. Our minds it's amazing. And if we don't take some control over our thinking, it'll just stay busy, busy, busy and not going anywhere. And we're not using that energy in the right way. And the first step of meditation is I need to teach myself. I need to get back to what we understand as our origin. No, our origin is actually to be a peaceful, happy, loving, powerful and wise human being. But how often would I spend a day like that, even thinking like that? And my self-talk, I can remember before I did meditation, I wasn't thinking very nicely about myself. I thought I was, this and I was that, and etc. And I never really thought very highly of myself. And that's also, I guess, hurting us, and it's also taking away, our positive traits, because we don't think we can do it. And often when it's time to get something done, I never feel that confidence, and so I put things off, and then when I put things off, then I don't like myself even more. So our power of thinking, it's really, really essential if I want to move through this life. And one thing that's actually got me through my meditation life, and as Gabrielle mentioned about, I've been in various places. And, you know, I was a person who, I lived in New Zealand nice and safe and comfortable. And then one day I just had this thought, I have to get away from here. I have to do something new. So I was a van driver at the time. So I just stopped one day outside this travel office. I went in and I booked my ticket to Australia for 8 weeks ahead. And I booked it and paid for it. And I walked out and I thought, oh gosh, I have to do it now. So I just went back, and it was kind of like, I didn't waver. I just packed everything up, said goodbye to everyone, finished my job, said goodbye to all my family, and I got on a plane and came over here by myself. And when I got there, and I actually arrived in Brisbane Airport, and I kind of had this idea in my mind that Australia was a really progressive place and it was really modern and everything. And at that time, Brisbane didn't have the airport it has today. It just had like an aeroplane hangar as its international airport. It wasn't that big at all. And I got in and I looked around me, and I remember bursting into tears and thinking, oh my God, what have I done? But, you know, that didn't last long because luckily I did have a couple of friends here, and they said they would give me somewhere to stay. And then I very quickly got a job and moved on and just got on with it. And the weather was a great bonus. And it actually cheered me up a lot. And then I moved ahead quite nicely. But the thing is with thoughts, they're very much a habit. And also because they become words and they became actions, my relationships sort of became a little bit similar to my relationships in New Zealand. And then after that, you know, I started to get into the same pattern of living. And I wanted to come here to change my life. And I just started to slip back into all the old habits. And they weren't good habits. And I won't tell you what they were because I don't want you to have negative vision on me, but they weren't doing me any good. Anyway, so when I actually was lucky enough to find someone who actually told us about meditation, and we came and did this meditation course, I was so happy. It was like a whole new lease of life. And, you know, and it just starts with thinking. And of course, it wasn't all roses at first, because who's ever trained their mind? It's not that easy to train the mind to think. And it's not that easy to realize, you know, that I am this person who could be very peaceful, who could be very happy, who could be very loving, and who's quite wise and can be quite powerful. I mean, I really have to think very deeply about that. And how do I maintain that peace? And how do I maintain that happiness? I have to keep thinking about it, and I have to keep pushing myself towards it. And as thoughts are habits, they all sit in the background and they all want to come and take over. And so we have to be quite strong. And that analogy of the battery, you know, there's a really positive side of me. But if I allow my attention to slip, that negative side of me can easily take over. So we have to be very careful. And, you know, we were very lucky at that time. We had a lot of senior yogis coming to Australia, and they were sharing their like 60 years of experience. And one of them especially said to us once, you can see your thoughts coming, because you'll get into a situation and you've got a choice how you view that situation. You can see it from a positive. Okay, this is something new. Let's see what I can do new to respond to this. Or you can see it from a negative and just respond the same old way. And those thoughts, that it's like there's two queues of thoughts just outside my eyes in a way. You know, just imagine like there's two queues waiting to come inside my head and say, okay, you can go this side to the negative or this side to the positive. And more lately, I've been choosing the positive, because that feeling not so great and not so happy and not so peaceful doesn't sit well with me anymore. So I really, really try and focus on bringing those positive thoughts in. And sure, we've got eyes, we can see, nothing's perfect, but that's all right. It's not about being perfect. It's about me dealing with it. It's about me shaping myself into a better human being. It's okay that it's not perfect, but what I need to do is think about what I'm thinking, because my thoughts are going to lead to my words, to my actions. So maybe I'll stop there and just see if I think Gabrielle's going to come in and see if she's got anything she'd like to add to that.
Maureen, I just love the way that you're talking about your story and your thought story as well. You know, like you're sort of mapping us through significant parts of your life in terms of your thought processes, and it made it really alive, actually, around how it is that thoughts are energy, and that thoughts, and we're using our thoughts in meditation. And I think it'd be really lovely at this point if you could, if maybe we do a meditation around thoughts. Could you just explain a little bit about what we should do? I know we're going to listen to a commentary in a moment, but if I'm using my thoughts when I meditate, tell us how we do that and what we need to be doing to make that really work for us.
Okay, so you had that nice notice up. I hope you're sitting comfortably. The universe is about to start. So make sure you are sitting quite comfortably, because it's really important, because the first thing that wants to interrupt our thoughts is the pull of the body. So if you're in a good place where you're very comfortable, do that. And then we are going to listen to a guided commentary. And this commentary is very clear, and it's probably one of the commentaries I love the most. And because we're just in training, we need some guide for our thinking. And so this commentary is going to give us a guide for our thoughts. So the best way to get the most out of it is just listen to the commentary and then try and feel it. And it's not being spoken fast, no faster than how I'm talking now. So you have time to process it, which is really nice. And you will find, remember I said there's those two queues of thoughts just sitting there. Thoughts are going to try and wander in. But you've got to pretend there's like a curtain there, and you just say, just stay out of the curtain, outside the curtain. I'm busy. And then refocus back on the commentary. That's what I can say for right now. And then afterwards, we'll talk a little bit more about meditation.
That's great, Maureen. Yeah, I really love that. Thank you. So this meditation is Anthony Strano, Stepping Inwards. Let's do that together.
I relax. I relax my body completely. And gently, very gently, I step into silence. I step inside myself. And in this silence, I disconnect from the things around me. I relax. I am still. And for the next 10 minutes, I will remain inside myself. I will remain in this silence, concentrating and keeping myself disconnected from all the things around me. Taking this journey inward, I wish to know myself. I want to be with myself and not think of anything else. Beyond worry, beyond fears, beyond the noises of the outside, I become still. Gently, I concentrate, and I ask myself, who am I? Who am I really? Am I this name, this body, this nationality? Or is there something more to my existence? In the silence, I focus my mind and concentrate on the center of my forehead. And as I focus, I visualize a point of light, a point of eternal energy. I understand. I am this light. I am this point of spiritual energy. I am here. I am the soul, a point of living light, the spiritual being. This is who I am. And as I journey deep, very deep within myself, I remember, I realize that I have great resources, great power within myself. I am a soul, and inside me lies all my experiences, my identity, and all the things I need to make my life happier and more peaceful. Who am I? I am a spiritual being, a point of eternal light. I let these thoughts penetrate my mind. I concentrate on these thoughts completely. I am a soul. I am immortal energy. I am peace. Peace is my original strength. Within myself, I visualize a pool of energy. This energy is the energy of peace. I go deeper and deeper within my peace. I remain in this experience. I remain within this consciousness. My original and deepest quality is of peace. Peace is my original nature. Peace is my original strength. And the deeper I go into myself, the deeper I go into my original peace. I am no longer distracted by all the things outside me. I remain in this consciousness. There is only peace, only silence. Peace and silence.
Anthony creates such a beautiful space with his thoughts, doesn't he, Maureen? You just sort of kind of want to stay in that, in a space of calm and peace. What was happening for you during that meditation in terms of your thought processes? Did you find a cue of negative and positive, or were you staying really aligned with those calm, peaceful thoughts?
I stay really aligned with those thoughts, as I love that commentary. I could listen to it every day. And especially when he talks about deep inside me is a pool of peace. And you know, I just have to swim every day, practice.
It's a nice way of looking at it, isn't it? You know, swimming in
Yeah,
peace. How
that's
beautiful.
very nice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering if you could start, you know, looking at the power of our thoughts and that process of turning within. I'm wondering about what else you do in meditation. Is there more to meditation than our thoughts? That's the vehicle, if you like, or that's the energy we use when we meditate. But is there more than just turning within? And especially in terms of our current situation, where in the world we're looking at a whole lot of different chaos and so on. But I'm thinking about this aspect of my own transformation and my ability to transform myself and strengthen myself to be able to do that. But what more is there to meditation that would help me do that?
Okay. So basically, we just had a little brief look at lesson number 1. And when I was learning this and was having some problems once, this lesson about knowing the self, they said to me, was the first lesson learned, and it's the last lesson to achieve. So everything will go back to my thinking and how I process my thoughts. But the second step is raising my thinking. So basically, the first step is to bring my thoughts here. And I mentioned in the commentary, and I didn't really mention, but we have this understanding that I actually sit here in the center of the forehead, and I'm actually behind the eyes. I'm looking out through the eyes. And so I've raised my consciousness to here. But when my thoughts are positive and they change me, and they might change the atmosphere around me, then maybe I need to go a little bit higher if I want to be, I guess, a helper in world change. So the second lesson we learn about is, you know, who am I is first lesson. Second lesson is, where do I come from and why we need to know this. So a second lesson is understanding that I wasn't always here. And where was I before I came into this body? And as it was mentioned in that commentary, you know, someone gave me a name. When I was born, I was a little baby about this big, and someone gave me a name, and I was born into a family, and then I grew up and got an education, and I became a barrister or a singer or an artist or a whatever, project manager, whatever talent I have in life, whatever occupation I have. I learned it. But it's not me. And there's a beautiful song, actually. It's an old song. It's sung by Supertramp. I don't know if any of you now would know Supertramp, but it was an old band from the 70s. And they used to sing this song, the Logical Song. And there's a song, and it talks about, will someone please tell me who I am? And they call it the Logical Song. So if you're flicking through your, the thing that plays all your music on your phone one day, just type in the Logical Song and listen to the words. It's quite interesting. And then it helps us to raise our consciousness a bit higher. And we don't come from here. We came into this body to have an experience, but I, the soul, am energy, and I can travel. And you'll notice with your thoughts, you can travel too. So you can be sitting here in this body and have a memory of maybe being in another place on holiday. So if I mentioned this in Perth, I'd say about being in Bali, because Bali is usually the closest holiday destination. And people go, oh, yeah, I love Bali. It's so nice. And you can almost see them there with their thoughts. So thoughts go, and they go there and they just get this nice rush of good emotions because they really love that place. And I mean, I guess it's a general, not everyone always has a good experience, but most people do. And so if we can go to Bali, why can't we go a bit further? That's what I often think. And so I'm going to take you a little bit further and think about, as a thinking being, as a spiritual being, we all come from the same home. And we don't come from this physical earth. And when we go to our other home, we come into another consciousness. And it's a consciousness where it's just energy. We can't see it with our human eye. And that's why people who have near-death experiences and they step out of the body and all they can talk about is how free they felt, how light they felt, how wonderful they felt just being me. And me was just energy and without the cumbrance of the body. And they always talk about going down this tunnel. I don't know why the tunnel experience, but then they always come towards the light. And they describe that experience as an experience of total freedom, total peace, total joy. And one word that we used to use is this word bliss, anand. It's like just beyond. So where we come from, it's beyond. And it's a place of peace. It's a place of silence, but it's actually a place of such bliss. And I feel very comfortable there. And one of the reasons why I feel that comfort is because I get welcomed there by the big light. It's light no bigger than me. Like I'm looking to the camera now and there's a light in the camera. It's not a very big light, but it's a light that's full and like completely full of positive energy. And so it can be called the divine light, can be called the source, can be called God, can be called the generator. But whatever that light is, it's totally loving. And it has equal amount of love for all souls. But to experience that, I have to be in that right consciousness. I have to be in my stage of total peace, raise my consciousness high, not pulled to anything of the world, and I've traveled my thoughts upwards. So in Hatha Yoga, they use this term, raising the Kundalini, so most of the time we're in the world, we're coming from the base chakra and we're pulled by all our sense organs. But when I start to meditate, I bring my thoughts up to the top chakra, but then I go out that chakra up. And we call it up to our home of peace, our home of silence. And that's where I connect with the Supreme Soul. And get back to this idea that I'm a battery, with a positive and a negative charge. But the Supreme Soul, or the divine, or the source, doesn't have a positive or a negative. It's just a positive, just nothing negative about that soul. So incredibly powerful, not big, but the feeling of that power is immense, but just a point of energy. And most people in their near-death experiences say that light was there and it was totally loving, non-judgmental, everything. And it's probably hard for us to imagine, especially if you're listening and it's a new concept for you. But just something there that absolutely welcomed you and had so much love for you. And yet you were able to see that you could be like that too. You could raise your thinking and be totally comfortable with being peaceful, with being loving, with being happy, all kind of joined together into this one word. Could be used like sheer joy or just bliss, just total. And that's what the second stage of meditation is about. And when I feel that in me, the soul, and I bring it back, I have raised my consciousness, so my thoughts are doubly powerful. And I can only describe from my experience of what first attracted me to meditation was meeting all the souls who had been meditating, and not necessarily for a long, long time, but for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And the atmosphere they created just by walking into a room when they were all sitting there, it was a lot higher than what we were getting out in the world. Because I feel in the world, thinking's very low. But what meditation does is it makes my thinking a bit higher. And when I can connect and go out and really high and get back to the source and fill with that power from the source, then I'm going to do something to help the world. And even if it's just good wishes, we talk about good wishes and good feelings. We talk about them a lot, actually, and they can only be felt and experienced if I'm coming from a very high place. And long-term meditators, they show that. And we've been fortunate enough to see meditators, for 60, 70, 80 years. And as soon as they sit and they take their consciousness back to the soul world, or to that place of peace, that place of silence, and make that connection with the source or the divine, the atmosphere is so powerful that even if you hadn't been a meditator for a long time, even if it was only for 2 days or so, you will feel the atmosphere. It just changes. So imagine a whole group of people all around the world having those thoughts, making that connection and putting that out into the atmosphere. If you want to help the world, that's how you'll get attention of every soul. Raise thinking, have high thinking, have elevated thinking, positive thinking, and just learn what you can do with the power of thoughts. And that's all it is, just taking my thoughts away, taking them home. And obviously I do have to come back into the body, but I come back different. I come back, with an intention of looking after my mind, because, it's the only thing I can really control. I can't control the government. I can't control the banks. Most women say they can't control the children, can't control the husband, or husbands will say they can't control the wife. We can't control anything. But we can't even control the interest rates. But we can control our thinking and how we deal with things. And that's why it's so important to know about this power and how I can really use my thoughts to get on in life. Nothing else is going to be of any value, but they talk about, if I change me, if I change, then the world will change. And I always refer back to this. So anyone who's ever listened to me before, I hope you're not too bored, but you might have heard of that 100 monkey theory. I don't know if you're very familiar with it, but it was just focusing on communication, and it was done with an experiment. And I don't know why I'm using the monkey. It was done with 3 monkeys, actually. And I don't know the actual facts of the whole monkey thing, but apparently in Japan there's a lot of islands and they all have colonies of monkeys. And they were curious about how they all seem to communicate, because no monkeys ever left the islands. They all stayed in their own individual islands. And the story goes is that they planted sweet potatoes in the islands, and then the sweet potatoes grew, and they planted them on all the island. And then for some reason, I don't know why, they're watching one island, and the sweet potatoes, they dug them out of the ground. But when they ate them, they had sand on them. They didn't like it. So one monkey had the bright idea to wash it in the water. And so, of course, you know how monkeys follow each other. Then the next one did, and the next one did. And they said by the time the 99th monkey did it, and all the other islands, they were all doing it, yet not one monkey stepped off that island. So think about the power of thought. You have enough people creating a very high wave of thinking, then how it will send a wave around the world. And if people, you might know this university, it's got centres all around the world, I think 135 countries, 140 countries. And if everyone's in the same state of thinking at the same time, and especially if it's powerful and it's designed to bring benefit to the world, what an impact it would have on everyone. What it would raise everyone's consciousness. And we would think about, okay, I don't want to stay here like this. I want to go back to my home. I want to connect with the source again. I want to be peaceful. I want to be loving. I want to connect. I want to go home. Can you imagine that happening? And that'll happen when, I guess, all islands of people around the world who start meditating, start thinking in that way. And if we want a better world, we'll have to go home while it gets cleaned up a little bit. So that's what our process is, raising our thinking. Because we can't think low now. We really have to think high. There's nothing else to do now. Because how happy was I when I was low thinking? I was terribly unhappy. And now that I feel that I can do something with my thoughts, I feel like I've got a purpose in life. And obviously, if you're listening to programs like this, you want a purpose as well. And it's just a change of thinking. And if we can connect with the source, we can connect with that divine power, what we couldn't do. It's pretty amazing.
Maureen,
Okay.
I'm loving what you're saying here. And particularly, the power of the divine, of that connection with the divine, and you have shared about how it transformed your life in some ways as well. But I'd love you to do a meditation with us around connecting with the divine and taking the power of the divine. How would that be?
Yeah, that's good. I can do that.
Okay, good. So again, we're sitting comfortably. You might like to just share how to go into the meditation, and then I'll leave it to you.
Okay, we can do that. So just once again, get comfortable and relaxed. And in fact, I just might have a little drink of water so I can get comfortable, relaxed too. Okay. So just sit here very comfortably and just be for a minute. Just be still. Be peaceful. Put everything else out of the mind for a little while. And just be in the present. And then visualize bringing my thoughts back to the center of my forehead. Sort of put my shoulders back and feel I'm sitting here in the center of the forehead and I'm in charge of my thinking. I'm this peaceful soul sitting here, taking control of my thoughts. And then very, very gently, just imagine a staircase in the room. And I'm going to climb the staircase. I'm going to climb as light. I'll leave the body of flesh and bones here. And I'll just take myself lightly up the steps. And walk off the earth. And go up, go up to a place that's just beyond the earth. This place of silence. This place of peace. I'm going to feel myself there in this place of silence, this place of peace, just beyond the earth. And as I keep stepping up into that silence, I see that light. It's just a tiny point, but I can feel that vibration. It's calling me. And I'm going closer. And I'm getting warmer. Because there's so much love. And I feel I'm being welcomed. And then I feel I'm surrounded by silence, by love. And I just feel that total peace. And as I'm here in this place, and as that love and that peace and that silence surround me, I feel like I'm getting recharged, rejuvenated. I'm getting my control back. I'm becoming the master. I'm not the slave. And that light, that supreme light, just stroking me with that love and that peace and that silence, filling me up. And I'd really like to stay here, just forever, with that divine light and that love and that silence. But very gently, I feel I need to come back. I feel that light is telling me, be a messenger. Bring all my children here. Go back and find them and bring them here. And so very gently, I step on the staircase and I come down, step back onto the earth, come back into the center of my forehead. Holding that peace, holding that silence, holding that love, and just letting it permeate, go to all the corners of my mind, my shoulders, my neck, right down to my feet. Just be. And then very gently, I look out into the room and I prepare once again to take control and become the master once again. Om Shanti.
Well, Maureen, that was the nicest walk up a staircase I've ever taken.
Yeah, didn't have to worry about falling on the stairs, did we?
It's beautiful. Yeah. We've got a couple of questions that have come in that I want to pitch to you, and I'm going to start with the one that didn't come in first, but here it is, and it's related to what you've just been saying. And how did you develop your relationship with the divine, and what role does faith have in it?
Okay, so, when I was a child, I always, well, they don't do it nowadays, but I was given a push bike when I was about 8 years old, and then told I had to push bike to school. And I went to a Catholic primary school, and so they taught me a lot about God and how God would help you and everything. So when I used to ride my push bike, I always used to pretend that God was on my shoulder and he would look after me while I rode my bike to school. So that's how it first started, that my first relationship was God as the friend. And then when I came to Raj Yoga and I did the course and they talked about this connection with the source, it took me back to those days. And at first, I just used to think that the source was my friend and I told him everything. And I talked nearly all day, nonstop, actually. And it wasn't until, after a couple of months, I realised that I didn't have to do so much talking, but if I was quieter, I could start to feel. And then a different kind of relationship developed, and I could feel that divine silence, and I could feel it helping me. But it started off with that friendship, and then they talked about having all relationships, but I still always go back to that friend, and sometimes when you know, we know that there's some laws of life that we have to follow. I think, you know, there's only the Father would give us these kind of laws. So sometimes he can be I think the divine can be a bit strict, but I know those laws are good for us. But that's how I kind of started that connection. But it's more about the silence, actually. There's more felt in silence than can ever be felt in anything else. That's how mine started. And talking about faith, that's really interesting. That's not something that you can make people have. It's what I find is that it's something that you have to allow to happen. And a lot of people in the world try and prove things, but when I have faith, I don't have to prove it. I don't have to show it. It just is. It just works. And that's why faith's a very hard word to explain.
That's a lovely way to that you've shared there to develop a relationship or to come into a relationship with the divine and make it really meaningful and very much a daily thing as well. And I was really appreciating too how you took us to that deeper level of you know, not just talking and sharing, although that's a big part of it, but the kind of like the magic that happens in silence, the deepness of a relationship in silence. It's really beautiful. Thanks, Maureen. That's lovely. There's another question that's coming in too, and perhaps it relates a little bit to you know, the topic. It's what's the difference between prayer and meditation, and is there any difference? And I'll just chip in here too and say that share a couple of experiences that I've had with when I've been when I, for example, I was in Assisi and in Italy, and I went into St. Clara's tomb, and I also went to St. Francis of Assisi's tomb as well, and there were very different experiences with St. Francis. I could feel, this was when I was like in my 40s, I could feel almost like the penance that he had done. But when it was in St. Clara's tomb, it was so deep and so quiet and so still. And it did remind me quite a bit of the meditation experiences I'd had. And so I started to wonder, well, what's the difference here? Because she was someone who was a beautiful saint who had you know, dedicated her life to prayer, and I slipped in the next morning to the tomb, and to do that I had to go to the church and go to the mass with all of the nuns, and again this beautiful deep silence that was happening in the way that they were praying very quietly together. And then of course, you know, there's the silence that we experience in meditation. So Maureen, in the light of that, and I know that if Elaine was here, she'd probably be able to give us an answer too, but I'd really value your opinion on that. What is the difference, do you think, between prayer and meditation, if there's any difference at all?
Well, because I started my life praying, I think it depends on what the prayer is for.
Okay.
Yeah, but and also with meditation too, it can be powerful. It depends what it's for. Often I find prayer is really good when it's for others, you know, and it's very powerful when it's for others. And meditation is like that too. Like usually our first meditation of the day is for me to fill myself, but the rest of meditation for the rest of the day is for others. And I think prayer is like that too. And because I got brought up with nuns as well, and they had such love for God, actually. It's a very nice feminine energy when you see all the nuns together and they having that love for God and praying together. And I'll tell you a story that's a long time ago. There was a whole lot of books brought out called Chicken Soup for this and Chicken Soup for that. But anyway, there was one called Chicken Soup for the Soul. I don't even know who wrote them or anything like that, but there was a story in there of an older lady, it was our grandmother actually, and she was, well, basically not going to be able to get out of bed. She was going to die. And her granddaughter, every time she got a bit critical, would come in and sit by her bed and pray for her. And the first 2 times the grandmother woke up and came around again. And the 3rd time it happened, they called her again and she was sitting by the bed praying for her. And the grandmother looked up and she said to the granddaughter, "Will you please let me go?" So there's power in prayer, really, enough people have that there, they can keep someone there. That's what I understand. So if you're using prayer in a good way, it can be very, very beneficial. And meditation the same, except often with meditation it's done through the mind being quieter and going to a source, whereas prayer is often talking, verbal. It's a bit more verbal, but the impact is probably the same.
It's lovely. Here's another question, Maureen. You just said here, it's saying, Maureen, you have a lot of faith in what you're doing. How do you know that? How do you know that that it's working? How do you know that it's working?
That's a very good question. Well, I guess because I'm pretty happy today. And I mean, I did ask somebody this question a long time ago. What did you do if you find out if it wasn't true? But
Right.
I can honestly tell you this life has given me such benefit, and I've become such a nicer person than what I was before. And probably if I'd stayed on the life that I was living before, I might not be alive today. And also I wouldn't have all these good feelings inside. I probably would have knocked myself off with alcohol or drugs or something, because I was going down that path and I decided to get out of it. And you know why I decided to get out of it? Because I didn't want to lose control of my mind. And that's the best thing. We have control of our minds. Yeah.
It's a nice motivator.
Yeah.
Just on that though, how can you tell? This isn't the question I'm asking it. How do you know that that it's working in terms of outcome for others? How
Well, actually, I'll tell you a very funny story. A few days ago, we were sitting here. We have a terrace outside, and it was a beautiful sunny day, as we can have them in Perth sometimes. And we were just having a chai together. And one of the brothers who comes here, he does our garden, and he just happened to say that we've got a few insects on the roses, and he'd been trying a natural approach, but it didn't seem to be working. So I just said to him, look, it's October, so our pest man, I'm due to call the pest man to come in, and he's actually got quite a few natural products that he uses that might help with that. So when he comes, we'll ask him. And I'm not joking, about 3 minutes later, the van came up the driveway and drove past us. And Mark said to me, "Who's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's the pest man." And I said to him, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Oh, you haven't called me." So I thought I'd call in. So, I mean, I know it's funny, but I just thought, well, maybe we don't realise how powerful we are.
Yeah,
synchronicity. How those thoughts go out there.
Yeah, and many people have reported
so,
too.
And probably people call it synchronicity, but many times that's happened where I think, I'll have to get someone to fix that. And there's a knock on the door and they say, "Oh, do you want anything done? Do you want this done? Do you want that done?" And it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I know.
And many people do report feeling uplifted when they've been, in a meditation circle, or their presence has been placed into a meditation circle to assist with some kind of healing. And it's a process that the Carmelites do and so on. So there's a lot of evidence in that regard. And I guess it's experiential. It's not something that can be necessarily measured, but in a scientific way, but that it's measured through experience. Yeah. I'm going to read you something that Elaine has written, and I'd love you to respond to it, because it's a comment that she made in terms of being on this program this evening. And she says that, this is a quote from her: "One thing I've learned through the teachings and principles of my main pillars of support, my relationship with my friends and colleagues, the teachings and principles of the Brahma Kumaris, and the Goya Peace Foundation, May Peace Prevail on Earth International, and reflecting on my life is, yes, all is good, and that everything happens for a reason. The hardest trials are the best teachers, and the only way I can effect change is to change myself and give gratitude and respect to my relationship with nature and my colleagues." She's written a very personal statement there, and I wondered, what your response is to that in terms of your experience of these learnings that she's really eloquently shared.
Yeah, well, it's so very true, actually. And because I think everyone in our life has someone that presses our buttons, okay? And we might not have such good feelings for them. And a long time ago, there was someone in my life like that, and I was thinking, how am I going to deal with this? And somebody out of the blue, we were just talking about it, they just said, see that person as your teacher. They're teaching you about yourself. And so it's changing the vision on that person. And, I use that a lot now when people come up, because that person was my teacher. It showed me my lack of tolerance, my lack of patience, also how judgmental I was. And once I realised that, I just realised everyone's different. They're not going to have the same opinions as you. Just have to accept them as they are, and that builds better relationships. So I really liked what that sharing was, because I wouldn't have probably been able to do that had I not been a meditator, because I wouldn't have been open to listen. And that's what meditation helps us to do. It opens us to listen and learn.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. Look, we're getting due to close out, Maureen. Is there any kind of last comment you'd like to make? It's been a pleasure listening to you, but I'm wondering if there's any kind of outstanding comment that you'd like to make.
Probably I want to thank you for asking me to be on the program. I've known Gabrielle for probably 30, 40 years myself, and I can see the changes in Gabrielle as well. Over the years, we change so much, and to see you doing this kind of a program is pretty amazing. And we both come from this little country and come onto the big wide world stage. And so thank you for that. And thank you for all the team who are working behind the scenes. And I think for all of us, some of us have good life situations, some of us don't have such good life situations, but wherever I am and whatever I'm doing, I'm in there for a reason. And if I can find my way through the situation with good feelings, good wishes, and even the power of meditation or prayer, whatever suits me, because as we know, we're all different. Some just positive affirmations helps. Then situations don't last forever. And once we learn our lessons, they go. So keep that in mind, that maybe life might not be so great now, but if I become great, things change.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
It's a very nice note to end on, Maureen. And Maureen, I'd like to thank you, for your authenticity and for your very grounded and practical approach to something that's often thought of as being esoteric and ethereal and out of reach, and you've made it really accessible tonight. So, and you've shared some really valuable insights and personal experiences, and I think that's really enriched the conversation this evening. So, Maureen, our blessings and our love to you, and much appreciation for your outstanding commitment to meditation and its personal and collective transformative power. So thanks for joining us on Youniverse this evening.
Okay,
Lovely
thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.
And we're going to finish tonight, viewers, with a meditation on healing our world. And that's a meditation that explores that transformative power that Maureen was talking about, the collective energy joining together and sending those vibrations to heal the world in connection with the divine. So we'll be ending with that. But before we go there, I'd like to let you know about a few things. Firstly, if you'd like to browse our online bookshop, Eternity Inc., which has a full online range of books on self-empowerment and inner powers, and always at not-for-profit prices, then please do go on there and have a look. Christmas is coming up. There might be gifts that you'd like to give your loved ones. And of course, it's a really valuable book or CD that you give. And if you'd like to subscribe to Open Your Eyes to the Youniverse to receive monthly updates, then please email us at special.events@au.brahmacamaris.org. And finally, our next episode of Open Your Eyes to the Youniverse, well, that's in a month's time. It's on Saturday, the 25th of November at 6 p.m, and that's AEDT, so Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. And as we close out tonight, as I mentioned, we're going to be in a collective meditation, and it's called Healing the World, which is a track from Healing Heart and Soul. And so until we see you again online on the 25th of November, take care and walk lightly on this earth. Om Shanti.
In my mind, I see before me the globe of the world. I allow my heart and soul to become unlimited. And I tune into the state of my world. My world is crying out for peace. Especially the many souls who are enduring war or natural calamity. My world is desperate for joy. Especially those who are suffering from disease or emotional trauma. My world is crying out for love. especially those who are experiencing loss, conflict, or loneliness. For so many, our world is no longer a place of peace and love. Our quality of life is diminished under the influence of inappropriate values and selfish actions. I look upon my world with mercy and compassion. And I create a pure wish for the world to be healed. With my strength of spirit, I send to the world the light and energy of peace. With my loving heart, I surround my world with loving feelings and good wishes. With the conviction of pure values, I create a sincere wish for us all to live and work together in a loving community, living in the highest spiritual values of respect and cooperation. With my generous heart and pure spirit, I unite with the divine presence and love of God. Together, we bless our world. I sense God's peace and love passing through me and caressing the world, nurturing every soul, so that they can restore their own purity, peace, and power. In my mind, I see a joyful world, full of peace and love. A world without sorrow, where there is only the exchange of love and respect. I believe in the possibility of such a world. Our world will once again shine with grace. I recognize that I play a part in bringing this world into being. I keep love and respect shining in my heart always. I keep peace and truth in my spirit forever.